Hi, my name is Jeff Pagano, and welcome to the Harpin preview show. First up, I must offer my apologies. This is posting a little later than normal. I was busy all day Friday, but thankfully, with a bit of help from my top Harpin contributors, we'll still be able to stitch together a decent preview for you. Well, before we start, I just want to introduce a new feature I'm going to try out for these shows. If you've ever checked out our main site at harpinonrugby.com, you'll have seen a weekly feature I call the 80 plus column, where I go over a few different egg chasing topics on my mind. And recently I've been dabbling in a bit of artificial intelligence by asking ChatGPT some questions and seeing what kind of answers it gives me. And last week I asked it to play out the Leinster v Toulouse match based on all the selected players. And I have to say it did a decent job coming up with a 33-19 win for Leinster. So basically, I've done it again this week, and with the teams for this match on Saturday against the Sharks. And what I'll do is I'll share the timeline of the virtual match here throughout the pod. You'll probably get the best experience of this if you're watching on our YouTube channel, as there'll be a graphic on the screen as we go along. But if you're listening to the podcast, I'll try to keep you updated on the progress of the match as well. Just to kick things off, I'll tell you how the first 10 minutes went. Quote, "The game starts with a lot of back and forth action as both teams try to find their footing. However, it is Leinster who strikes first as winger Jordan Larmour breaks through the Sharks defense to score a try. Harry Byrne converts the try to give Leinster an early 7-0 lead." End quote. Well, I'll definitely take that kind of start at the Viva on Saturday. Anyway, right, that's enough of me talking for now. Let's get to our contributors. And while I couldn't record a Zoom call on Friday, Kigo has kindly recorded a couple of videos for me. So why don't we get to the first one now, where he offers his thoughts on the game against Toulouse.
Ladies and gentlemen, Kigo here. Slightly different atmosphere than usual. Jeff and I have been taken. We've been taken. We need someone with it. No, we haven't been taken. We've just been taken away from each other on a Friday. So our review is going to be separate, but the graphics department are going to put everything together, edit everything together, edit out all the curse words to make us sound really intelligent. It's going to be well clipped, like Pulp Fiction, except unlike Quentin Tarantino, Jeff's opinion and my opinion are our own. We haven't stolen it from somebody else. Shots fired, because we know Quentin loves a Friday review. So let's get stuck in. So last week we had the semi-final. We had the mighty French coming over to see us. They had 5 stars. We had 4 stars. I was confident, as we said in the preview. I was confident up until Thursday morning of last week, when it starts hitting. You know, there's a lot of build-up, not just the normal build-up, but there's the finals in Ireland. Johnny's leaving, Stuart's leaving, all that sort of stuff. All this sort of emotional baggage, I suppose, is building up. And there's these monsters, these absolute monsters from Toulouse who really want to spoil the party. And they tried to do it. The early doors, they did try and do it. And, you know, the thing I noticed about them was, and I'm sure we all noticed the whole thing, they're 9 and 10 are just pure magic. The problem is, though, that once that's gone or dealt with, or an injury has happened, forces a position change, they couldn't navigate that. So if you put that in Leinster, Johnny's gone, Rosser steps up, death, taxes, Ross Byrne from the tee, you know, all that sort of stuff. You know, if Gibson Park was to get injured, there's McGrath there. You know, James Lowe is out. We've got a multiple of people who can come in, slot in, and do the job. Not a lot of teams have that, which I think is something which is great for the final coming up. But as soon as the position change happened and Dupont moved out from that, you know, 9 and 10 channel that he's in, you could see, at least when he's in the middle and he gets the ball quickly, people know he's getting the ball quickly, so they know they have to pay attention. Whereas if he's one pass away, something's happened and he's a step ahead. He's an extra step ahead, if you like. And you can see the rest of the team going, "What? Where's he going? Oh, I've got to follow him." You know what I mean? And then when Leinster started squeezing with the yellow cards, which you can't argue, even switching the jerseys, you can't argue. You know what I mean? The Van der Fleer one I thought was a red, but you know, if you want to say hit the chest first, then it's just a yellow. That's fine. Switch the jerseys, it's the same thing. But when Dupont moves around from his normal position to anywhere else on the pitch, he's still brilliant. He's still a threat, but he tends to take it on more by himself because he knows the rest of his team doesn't know. You know, Every team has a player like that at every level. J4, there were a couple of players who would just go because they were like they thought differently than the rest of us. They would just go, and it was up to us to either protect them from from the beef coming at them or to support them. It's actually extra pressure on the people around you. So DuPont is brilliant, amazing, worth twice the price of admission. Not really. Stop charging us too much money to go see our team. I don't know why I was pointing my finger at you. It wasn't you. You're not charging us. But it's the problem, and it's going to be the same for France in the World Cup. When stuff starts happening, they're going to look to DuPont, but they're not going to be able to follow him around because I don't know if he knows exactly what he's going to do, and that's why we love him. It was amazing to watch. Like there were footballers back in the day. I'm old enough to remember Matt Letitia playing for Southampton, and he had a similar thing. He just played. He didn't really think about anybody else. He just went for it. And if you were there with him, great. If you weren't there with him, everything fell apart. And it didn't fall apart for Toulouse, but they certainly lost. Their chances shrunk as soon as they started moving those guys around. And the problem is they had to move DuPont because if they kept him where he was and moved someone else to the midfield, that ruins the balance of that 9 and 10. So there was no winning of that situation. Whereas with Leinster, there's a group of players. You look at the bench, there was a group of players that could come on. You look at what Osborne does, Jimmy O'Brien does. They covered 3 positions each. Lowe's played fullback. Larmer has played both wings. All these sort of things happen. Osborne and O'Brien can also play midfield to a really high level. Not all teams have that, and Toulouse found that out. I think for me, the season Maloney's having at Leinster is magic. He's really, every time we go into a big game, he's there, he's ready to rock and roll, and he's never, regardless of the size of the opposition, he's there and he's performing. So it's great that he got a new deal and all that sort of stuff. Great to see Jenkins come on and really enjoy that try as well, because he's a mutant. And you need mutants, and he's a bit mean as well, that kind of Heinze character and all that sort of stuff. I'd love to say we've gone past that. I'd love to say we've kind of gone, oh, look, we're silky skills and all that sort of stuff. But at the end of the day, it's a team-based combat sport. You know what I mean? That's it. The reason we cheer so loud is because the honesty of effort on a rugby pitch is unparalleled. It certainly doesn't happen in football, shots fired. But Jenkins coming on, really performing well, showing improved handling.
Now, you might think I've cut Kigo off there, but actually that's where his video ended, unfortunately. And although you can probably tell he's pretty pleased with that win, same as the rest of us. And in case you're wondering about my background, I felt like his guitars were something of a challenge. As you can see, I moved into a different room just to show him I've got more, okay? Anyway, listen, as he was talking, our YouTube viewers will have seen the updates in the virtual Sharks quarterfinal. And for the pod listeners, I can tell you that match has reached halftime. And although the Sharks equalized thanks to a counterattack try from a Pimpy, tries from Charlie Natai and Ryan Baird left the halftime score at Leinster 21, Sharks 10. Again, I will totally take that. Okay, just let me change that background again. It's getting a little bit ridiculous. So anyway, as the second half of that virtual match kicks off, right now it's time to look ahead to the real life version of our feature match of the week, which is, of course, Leinster v the Cell C Sharks in the quarterfinal of the United Rugby Championship. It's being played at the Aviva Stadium on Saturday, May the 6th, 2023, kicking off at 5 p.m. with TV coverage on RTE2, Viaplay, Premier Sports, and URC.tv. The referee is Craig Evans, with Sam Grove White and Holly Davidson, the assistants, and the TMO, Ben Whitehouse. The weather forecast for Dublin on Saturday evening is meant to be partly cloudy, 11 degrees, with not much chance of rain and not much wind either. So it seems like pretty much perfect conditions. Now, the two teams were named at lunchtime on Friday. So now I'm going to hand you back to Kigo as he gives his thoughts on what could happen.
And we are back. I have kept the same jumper on for continuity. Also laziness, because I'm taking care of my children by myself. So I kind of feel that they need to be dressed and fed and washed. Me, ever since they were born, I've been disposable. But that's for another podcast. The teams for Leinster versus the Sharks this weekend, I believe it's in the Aviva. I do not know. Have been announced, and it's an interesting team. I actually wrote it down here on a sheet of paper that I'm going to hold beside the camera, so it looks like I know these things. So, starting from number 1, we got Milne, Sheehan, Furlong, Savage. We've got Jenkins and Baird, savage. We've got Deegan, Penny and Doris, hello back row. We have Luke and Harry, 9 and 10. And then we've got Dave Carney on the wing. Giddy up, Dave, 153 years of age. Charlie's back in there in the midfield after a great performance last week. Frawley in at 13, giddy up. And then we've got Larmer and Keenan finishing off. On the bench, we've got John McKee, great stuff. We've got Porter, Healy, Joe McCarthy, Conan, Gibson Park, Ross Byrne, Liam Turner. That's our 23. So we're getting into the part of the season where we've got to keep the heads. We were talking about it earlier on, the emotional stuff that's attached to everything that's happening. We've got to keep our heads. So this is another one where, you know, coach and management have kind of gone with showing faith in kind of Milne, giving Jenkins a start, Baird getting in there from early. So that's a very strong message to send out. Let me get this sheet up here again. We'll edit that part out so it looks like I know what I'm talking about. I'm actually cross-eyed. I'm not looking at a sheet of paper beside the camera. But no, it's always great to see Dave Carney play there. I think we're always going to underrate him, just based on, you know, we all know. Good to see Charlie Natai and Kieran Frawley. So that's an interesting 12 and 13. Obviously, Charlie did a great job last weekend. Good to keep him back on the pitch. Obviously, you can see what our final pairings are going to be, and you know, and what they won't be. Our front row is basically there with Porter in for Milne. Good to give him a little bit of a break based on the minutes in the boots, as we always talk about. But no, there's no weak links there. Harry Byrne needs business rugby, and he's getting it. I think the Sharks will fancy a shot at Harry Byrne. So it'll be interesting to see what they do, what they fired down there. I haven't even looked at their team because you play your own game. And that's what Leinster have to do. I think, you know, obviously they're going to try and fire people down at Harry, see how he reacts to it, see if they can wind him up, force a couple of bad decisions out of him. So it's a big day for him. Charlie's got to be a good support, good and even leader after last week. I think it really did him a lot of good. So he's going to step up now with Frawley beside him. Lermer gets another shot. He was shouted at by Ross Byrne that we all saw, which, listen, whatever team sport you play, you've always had a mouthy playmaker shouting at you. So, you know, welcome to the real world, Jordan. But no, he's still playing for that seat on the plane, you know, and you know, you got Frawley who can do the job on the wing. You got Jimmy O'Brien who can do the job on the wing. You know, there's a lot of options there. So it's up to Larmer, because Larmer, I've got to watch my phrasing here, but he's mostly a winger, so he's got to be exceptional on that wing to be picked. But no, like Leinster going to win. I feel that the drubbing they got in South Africa in the second game is going to do them well. That mix with the 22-all draw against the Bulls, can't remember, in the RDS, that's going to do them well. Coming back against Ulster in the RDS is going to stand them well. There's a lot of grit, determination, stubbornness, lack of ego, all that sort of stuff, which, you know, wasn't necessarily all over previous Leinster teams. I just think it's more pronounced now. And I think all of these things that have happened, that haven't happened in previous seasons, where we steamroll people and you kind of come up against that brick wall, you don't know how to navigate it. This team have navigated tough times. They've been through tough times this season, and they haven't been found wanting. Whatever team has taken the pitch. Now, there was a kick in the bum in South Africa. Kicks in the bums, they don't, you don't get over them quick, especially when they're that vicious. So that's still there. There's a demon to be exercised. It's another South African team looking for a big win against the big jersey. They're not going to get it this weekend. We march on. And yeah, like, it's going to be, I don't know how many people that are letting into the Aviva this weekend. Make some noise. You sounded beautiful last weekend, so we've got to keep that going, keep the team going, because there will be tired bodies after last weekend. Excuse me, tired bodies there. So we need to get the volume up. But no, it's going to be great. Irish Rail aren't letting us down this weekend. The darts are running. The dorts are running. They weren't running last weekend. I'm still very annoyed about it. But no, Leinster win. Leinster march on. Interesting team selection. You know, the coach and the big boss, they know what they're doing. So, you know, and then with Sean O'Brien having that experience of taking care of the team out in South Africa, listen, it's all working well. Just got to keep calm. We can get emotional. They can't. So Leinster are going to win, and Leinster are going to win well. And we march on one game at a time. So let's get this weekend done. and we'll worry about next weekend next weekend.
Well, many thanks to Kigo for that. As you will have seen in the AI matchup, the Sharks had a strong start to the second half with two quick yet unconverted tries to pull within a point. But then Tyke Furlong put us back ahead 28-20 before a yellow card to Potgater gave us a man advantage just as the clock was ticking into the final quarter. Okay, well, now we have an extra guest on the show. Kigo will be joining us again on Sunday evening for the Rat Pod, along with Kino Muller, better known as on Twitter as Rugby Kino, and he's kindly also taken the time to record a video preview for us. So let's hear what he had to say.
Hi, I'm clearly not Jeff Pagano, but I am Kino Muller filling in for him, and this is a lightning quick Harpin on Rugby preview edition. Like one of them TikToks, but with an owl fella and no dancing. Don't forget to like and subscribe. This Saturday, 5 p.m, Leinster take on Sharks at their honestly not a home, away from home, at the Aviva in the quarterfinals of the URC. Now, due to poor planning, Leinster are playing a lot of knockout games at the home end of this season, which has drained both the pockets and the brownie points of many as a fan. Won't somebody please think about us poor supporters before top seeding all over the place? Now, this means that despite limiting seats to the lower tier for this fixture, it is not looking like a sellout. So, given what a cracker the match against the Sharks was earlier this season, you could probably do worse than sneaking out on the sly and likely getting a ticket on the door. Still plenty going for €25. Now, overall, this is a Leinster selection that balances the requirements of tilting at two competitions with wanting to keep the frontliners fit for a big day with those dastardly Rog-led Frenchmen. It rewards a number of the Rhys Ruddock All-Stars who have been getting it done in the URC since the Six Nations kicked off, sprinkled in with some of the internationals and mixing them around a little bit. Now, this leads me to believe that you'll probably see much the same as 23 next week with some rotation, especially around those likely to play in the Cup final the following weekend. In the backs, we have 15 Hugo Keenan, 14 Jordan Larmour, 13 Kieran Frawley, 12 Charlie Natai, 11 Dave Carney, 10 Harry Byrne, and 9 Luke McGrath. Now, Keenan has the fewest caps in that back line, which is a bit of a mad thought. It's a solid experience selection, but maybe missing a top grade clearance kicker outside of Keenan. Sharks probably won't be kicking too much, so it may not be a priority, but we may be looking to run this back to midfield instead. Frawley and Natai is a novel centre pairing for sure. Can't remember Frawley getting a start at 13 before, but we know he's a capable guy, and Natai had a superb showing last weekend against Toulouse. Now, they may have their work cut out for them defensively against Am at times, though, so that'll be one to keep an eye on. It's brilliant to see Harry get a start in a big game. Since a lot of the prior hoopla around him has died down, he's been quietly going about the business of improving his game management, so I hope that comes through for him here. Luke has been having a great season and deserves a run in the captain's armband. I don't think it's for the first time this season either. Leinster forwards. In the forwards, we have 1 Michael Milne, 2 Dan Sheehan, 3 Tyke Furlong, 4 Ryan Baird, 5 Jason Jenkins, 6 Max Deegan, 7 Scott Penny, and 8 Caelan Doris. Now, great to see Milne getting the opportunity to start with Sheehan and Furlong. He's been showing great potential in the loose and tight, but the entire front row is going to need to be on point against a literal world-class Sharks front row, especially in the scrum. Baird Jenkins is a second row duo, which has wonderful moment potential. Jenkins can be an absolute nuisance in the tight, and Baird's athleticism can punish a side that gives him an inch, and his poaching is coming along too. What would Tyke Byrne do indeed? Deegan, Penny, and Doris is a nicely balanced back row for me. Deegan has rediscovered his love of a cheeky line break. Penny's try-scoring rate of return is higher than most wingers. And 8 is still Doris's best position, where he can cause the most damage with his carrying and pike footwork. Now, the bench is 16 John McKee, 17 Andrew Porter, 18 Cian Healy, 19 Joe McCarthy, 20 Jack Conan, 21 Jameson Gibson Park, 22 Ross Byrne, and 23 Liam Turner. Again, it's a nice balance of those players who've been in the trenches, like McKee, those back from an injury, like Turner and McCarthy, and the frontliners. There's a fair bit of heft and experience to bring on from the bench there, and could well make an impact if things are still tight with 20 or 30 to go. Now, the Sharks team. If the graphics team is out on a sympathy strike with Hollywood Writers at the moment, the Sharks team will hopefully be added to the attached notes. Despite their signed roster of Galacticos, Sharks are missing a few notable players, namely Khaleesi and Bosch, causing issues in the back row and at fly half, respectively. The continued absence of Etzebeth results in Ral making only his second appearance for the Shark in the second row. tomorrow. Despite some injury issues, they are able to start a world-class front row and three shit-hot backs in Fassi, Am and Mapimpi. Sharks have selected the best team available to them, and they are not to be taken lightly. The officials for the day will be referee Craig Evans, TMO Ben Whitehouse, assistant referees will be Sam Grove White and Holly Davidson. And the weather forecast for the day is 14 degrees Celsius with light winds and 25% of light showers. Now, prediction time. So, Ulster v Connacht. Despite Ulster's issues at tight head, I'm finding it difficult to see a way past them at home. So I'm going to go Ulster by 10. Stormers v Bulls. Stormers get carried through by home advantage in a tighter game than expected. Stormers by 5. Glasgow v Munster. Now, this one's a tough one to call. Glasgow ran riot against Munster a few months ago, but Munster have dug out some superb results since then, most notably in South Africa. I think Glasgow will have half an eye on the Challenge Cup, and I am going to call it as Munster to Munster it by 1. Now, Leinster v Sharks. This season has been an unmitigated disaster for the Sharks. Lackluster results given their amazing roster, leaving them barely scraping into the top 8 of the URC and dropping out of the Champions Cup due to the last year of the Shield system. While they have some amazing players, I just can't see them pulling out the kind of cohesive performance that the Bulls managed in their late run last season. The bookies are giving a rather generous 18-point spread to Leinster on this one, but I don't think the hammer will go down quite that heavily, and I'm going to call it as Leinster by 14. Thanks for tuning in. Regular coverage with Jeff will return in the review of this game, which should be available on Sunday or Monday, featuring even more of me. God love yous. Slán agus banachtaí.
Now, just to offer my own quick thoughts on this match at the Aviva, I reckon this was always going to be a fascinating selection for the Leinster coaching ticket. Now we've got another European final to look forward to. Obviously, we don't want to hurt our chances in the URC, but by the same token, we do have to take out some cotton wool. You have to wonder if Leinster are the only squad in Europe that can make a decent attempt at both major trophies. Although over in the Top Cat Tours, it does help them that their playoffs only start when the Champions Cup is over. Anyway, I'm delighted to see Luke McGrath get the captain's armband, and this will, of course, be a really big test for Harry Byrne. He's improved a lot this season, and whatever side the Sharks put out, we know they can run us close, because that 54-34 scoreline we put on them at the RDS was a lot closer than it looks. I reckon we'll probably need the strong names on our bench to stay ahead of a side that has such a dangerous back three, plus Lucanio and I'm definitely expecting a good few tries going in both directions. And as ever, if you're not expecting a try or two from the likes of Max Deegan and Scott Penny, then you haven't been paying attention. Well, anyway, listen, I'm going to leave it there, but not before taking one last look at our virtual matchup. As our YouTube viewers will have seen, we took full advantage of that yellow card, just as we did against Toulouse, and we hit them with quick tries from Gibson Park and Doris off the bench, and a late Shark score from Van Rensburg wasn't enough, leaving the final score at the AI Aviva, Leinster 42, Sharks 27. Goes without saying, Leinster fans will be more than happy with that, but of course, we can take nothing for granted when the real players take the field. So be sure and enjoy the match wherever you are, if you be at the stadium or watching on the telly box. Follow our social media channels throughout, and head on over to our Facebook page right after the full-time whistle and leave your thoughts. We'll read them out on our Wrap Pod. In the meantime, thanks again to both Kigo and Kino for the contributions, and stay safe, everyone. Slán.